Good afternoon or good morning or whatever time it is, time of day it is where you are. I am Mark Duncan. Thank you for being here if you're watching live, and welcome to another installation of Huddle Up with the Fund Coach. Just glad to be with you today. I'm going to dive right in. If you read the description of this session, hopefully, you're interested in understanding and learning more about why this is important. Major gifts. I'm going to talk about major gifts, and that major gifts are not just for capital campaigns. Uh, Now, that should be obvious to many in the nonprofit space, but I think it's important to emphasize because I do see a lot of nonprofit organizations who are entering into capital campaigns and have never, ever done a major gift campaign or done any sort of major gift program in their organization. So they have this great need to build something, add something, something that they need capital for to be able to generate the revenue to be able to do what they want to do that's outside of their operating budget. And so they may hire a consultant to do a feasibility study. The study comes back and tells them that they can raise X amount of dollars, but the people that are being interviewed for the feasibility study may not be the folks that you should be having a relationship with. So it's really important to build in a major gift program for your annual support. Okay. So annual fund major gifts are really what make you ready for a capital campaign. If you are generating major gifts, $1,000, $5,000, whatever a major gift is for you, and it's based on a relationship, it's based on a series of conversations that you're having with donors who have capacity, and you're doing that on a regular basis every year, then you're going to be in a much better position to engage in a capital campaign than if you're just doing direct mail or you're doing online giving or a combination of other activities that really are transactional in nature, because the objective is to shift from the transactional to the relational. If you're just doing direct mail and online giving, and I know Giving Tuesday is coming up, if you're just doing those things, or you're doing a day of giving, so a lot of communities have their own special day of giving. And if you're just doing that and you're only focused on how much you generate from that and then you just move on, you're missing the opportunity to develop relationships with those folks who are supporting you in that way and taking it to the next level. So if somebody's giving to you through direct mail, they're giving to you through your giving day, they're giving to you just going onto your website. If you're not diving deeper and learning as much as you can about that individual's capacity, and then taking the next step to build a relationship with them that will lead to an ask that will get you more money, a larger gift than the 50 or 100, $150 that you got on that online campaign, right? That could lead to $1,000, $5,000. So if you're going to do a capital campaign, you've got to have a track record of asking for major gifts to support your annual fund. If you are thinking about doing a capital campaign, I would recommend that you hold off, especially if you're doing a capital campaign and you have no track record of soliciting major gifts from donors to support your annual fund. If this is your first time out of the gate, you probably have 1 to 2 years before you can actually launch a capital campaign, buying you the time to build those relationships with those individuals and ask for significant gifts to support your annual fund. You've got to do that first. And then those are the people that, if you're going to do a capital campaign that requires you to build something, a facility, and that is when I would recommend you do a feasibility study. You don't necessarily need to do a feasibility study for every campaign. If your campaign requires you to build something where you need a finite amount of money and no amount less than that will allow you to scale, then you need to do a feasibility study. But the feasibility study, the people who will be interviewed for that feasibility study should be people that you already have a relationship with, that are already giving, that have significant capacity. Because you come in cold, you're going to get a cold result on your feasibility study. Yeah, they may tell you you can raise X amount of dollars, but boy, you got a lot of work to do before you can go back to them. And your feasibility study may even tell you that, yeah, you know what? I don't really have a relationship with them. I think they do good work. I've been giving to them for 5 years, 10 years, but I don't have a relationship with them, a personal relationship with them from anybody from that organization. So I probably, would hold off. And that may be the recommendation that you get, is that you hold off for a year or two till you build that capacity and you build that ability to generate those big dollars first. Get out there. First of all, find out who those donors are, people who are giving to you. Who are those folks that have capacity? Reach out to them, get on the phone, schedule a visit with them, get to know them, build a relationship, ask them for a major gift to support your annual operations, and stay in touch with them. And so in 2 years, when you're ready to launch a capital campaign, you have already built a track record that will allow you to solicit for those gifts. Okay. The other thing you want to think about is how capital campaigns themselves can actually help bolster the annual fund. Now, I know I'm talking about major giving toward the annual fund, but if you've built that track record and you're generating annual support through major gifts, when you're ready to move toward a capital campaign, you can make a capital campaign ask and an annual fund ask at the same time. So I call those dual asks, right? Where you may ask a donor to give $100,000 to your capital campaign and spread that out over 5 years. So that's 20,000 a year for 5 years. And then you may ask them to give an additional $25,000. So that's $125,000 over 5 years. So $125,000, right? 20,000 a year goes to the campaign. 5,000 a year goes to your annual fund. Now you've just secured a $25,000 gift for your annual fund, yes, spread out over 5 years, but when it and of course the 100,000 to the campaign. But when the campaign is winding down, you can now have a conversation with that donor, and they will not be paying 100 or $25,000 a year, because that's what it'll come out to total. Now you can ask them to think about continuing to support the annual fund, but perhaps at a higher level, but it'll be less than what they're giving annually in the last 5 years. So basically, as you taper off the capital campaign payments, when they're coming to an end, you can ask them for a new annual fund ask over multiple years, maybe 3 years. And instead of 5,000 a year, maybe it's 6,000 a year for three. So maybe you go you do an $18,000 ask over 3 years. Now they're giving you 6,000 a year, which is significantly less than what they were outlaying, but it's more money for your annual fund. That is how you need to be thinking about relationship fundraising. It isn't just about capital campaigns. Major gifts are not just for capital campaigns. And finally, and most importantly, and I believe you're picking up on this if you're watching this, you are if you do those things, if you focus on building a major gift program for your annual fund, then when it comes time for you to launch a capital campaign, because you're going to go back to those same people, you will have built what I call a culture of philanthropy that your donors will expect you to continue going forward. When you come out of left field, if you're an organization that's been sitting around for 40 years, 50 years, and you did a capital campaign back in the 80s, you did another one back in the early 2000s, and you're about to launch another one. In between all of that, if you just went dormant and you just went back to your annual mailing and your Giving Tuesday efforts and your Giving Day efforts, and that was it, you probably have left a ton of money on the table over the course of those years. And you probably would have been able to raise significantly more money for an upcoming capital campaign if you built that culture of philanthropy. So, and this is for organizations of any size. You do not have to be an organization that is fully staffed with 4 or 5 development people, in addition to the CEO or executive director, in addition to other folks on the staff. Your board can play a significant role in helping you build that culture of philanthropy that leads to major gifts that support your annual operation. You, as the CEO, executive director, can solicit support from your board that will help you get there. It's just a matter of you building relationships with people who have capacity, making the case, making the ask, and closing the deal, and building that culture slowly so that you can secure the dollars that you need. And when it comes time to launch a capital campaign, you're already in that habit. And the people that you serve and the donors that have been giving to you will gladly give you more because they know you are being good stewards with the dollars that they have raised so far. So keep this in mind as you think about this idea of relationship fundraising. It's not just for capital campaigns. Big asks are not just for big projects. Big asks can be the thing that keeps your organization vibrant, sustainable, growing from year to year to year. So remember, major gifts are not just for campaigns. You want to make sure that you are focused on building those relationships leading up to that. If you haven't done a capital campaign before, or you want to do one and you've never done major gifts or relationship fundraising up until then, give yourself a year or two to build that culture of philanthropy before you launch a capital campaign. And I guarantee you, you will see significantly large returns from that investment of time and energy and effort, and the fact that you'll be building those relationships with those high net worth individuals that are in your universe. So thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful to you. And as always, this whole idea of fundraising, all these conversations that we have about how to make it work, how to increase philanthropic support, the activity that you must engage in to get this done. All of this has, everything related to fundraising is never ever about the dollars itself. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. And that is what should be driving you every single day. Thanks and have a great day.